Final archetype of Justice Hunters has been revealed, and it's furries? Hey guys, Otak here, back with another video, and today we're taking a look at the brand new Justice Hunters archetype, the Canines. This is the final archetype out of the 3 for the deck building set. We already got Yummy and we got Dragon Tails, so now it's time for Canine. And yeah, it's a bunch of furries. Before we do jump on into the cards, I have noticed that a great deal of you that watch my content are not currently subscribed to the channel. So if you like competitive based content, deck lists, and tier lists, consider subscribing to the channel for more so I can continue to make videos like this one. But also, leave a like on this video and comment below your thoughts on the Canine archetype. Alright, so we have a lot to go over today because there are 10 cards in total to talk about, and Canine is the new archetype and the final archetype in Justice Hunters, and it is an Xyz focused archetype. Just a heads up, I have already pre-read these cards. This is a very strong archetype from what I can tell, and the whole theme of the deck is they are cops, aka Canine, and they revolve around punishing your opponent for using hand traps, which I think is a really cool idea. But let's just jump right into it. So the first card is Canine Model 17 Izuna, level 5 Earth Warrior, effect monster, 2100 attack, 1600 defense. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. The first effect is if your opponent has 2 or more cards in their hand, you can normal summon this card without tribute. The second effect is during the main phase, if your opponent activated a monster effect from the hand or graveyard this turn, quick effect special summon this card from your hand. And then the third effect is if this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Canine card from deck to graveyard except Canine Model 17 Izuna. So right out the gate, again, they gain advantage off your opponent hand trapping you, specifically monster effect. If they activate Imperm or the Dominus cards, they don't get any bonus effect there. But one thing to note is this is kind of giving like a Ryzeal X feel, where this can actually hit the board twice in the same turn. It also, its second effect is a quick effect, so it does have the ability to summon itself from your hand on your opponent's turn. It just has to be in the main phase specifically. So if your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand or graveyard on their own turn in the main phase, you can special summon this card. And then if it is summoned, it does have the ability to send a Canine card from deck to graveyard, which has its own advantages. Next is Canine Model 66A Yokuru, a level 5 Dark Aqua effect monster, 2k attack, 1900 defense. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. If your opponent has 2 or more cards in their hand, you can normal summon this card without tribute. They all have this effect, just like how Yummy and Dragon Tails all had similar effects. They're all kind of leaning towards this Malice-esque feel where all of the main deck monsters have a similar effect, and then they have their own other effects that make them unique in their own way. Second effect is you can reveal both this card and one level 5 monster in your hand, special summon both, but they cannot be used as material for an Xyz summon of a light monster. Now keep in mind, it says a light monster, so you cannot make a light Xyz with these cards, and that's generic. You can't just make any generic rank 5 light Xyz monster, because the archetype does have 2 Xyz lights, but you can't make a generic light. The third effect is during the main phase, you can add one non-aqua Canine monster from deck to hand. That is an ignition effect. It is not a trigger effect, and also it is not a quick effect. And also on top of that, it is main phase exclusive, and there's only one aqua currently, and that is this one right here, so just can't add itself. The next monster is Canine Model 66B, Rantan, level 5 Dark Pyro effect monster. Thank God it's level 5, so we can't add it off of Bonfire. 2k attack, 1900 defense. You can only use the second and third effect of this card's name once per turn. Again, if your opponent controls 2 or more cards in their hand, you can normal summon without tribute. If this card is in your hand, you can target one level 5 non-Pyro Canine monster in your graveyard. Special summon both this card and that target, but they cannot be used as material for an Xyz summon of a light monster. During your main phase, you can add one Canine spell or trap from deck to hand. This is just kind of the flip of 66A, which makes sense because it's 66B. Basically, A can add a Canine monster. This can add a Canine spell or trap. This can revive from the graveyard, whereas the other one summons both from hand. There's a lot of synergy here. I think between the two, this one will probably be the one of, because a little less application. Again, there's only one Pyro, and it's this one, so targeting a level 5 non-Pyro, just don't have this card in your graveyard. And then the last main deck monster is the kind of different one from the whole bunch. Canine Model 00 Lupus, level 5 Earth Beast Warrior, 2300 attack, 200 defense. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. During the main phase, if your opponent activated a monster effect from the hand or graveyard this turn, quick effect special summon this card from your hand or graveyard, but banish it when it leaves the field. Second effect, during your opponent's turn, you can quick effect immediately after this effect resolves, quick Xyz one monster including this card. And then if this card is an Xyz material, the Xyz monster gains the effect that it cannot be targeted by opponent's card effects. This one's really good because just like the first one, this has the ability to summon itself from your hand or the graveyard on your opponent's turn, and yes, it does banish itself when it leaves the field, but it is becoming an Xyz material, so that's not really applicable. But once it is on the board on your opponent's turn, you can then just immediately Xyz summon, and then it doesn't have any restrictions, so you can immediately use it to go into one of the light ones if you choose. We are going to look at the Xyz monsters before we look at the spells and traps. There are 3 Xyz monsters, one is wind and the other 2 are light. The first one is Canine Model 17 Ripper. It's a rank 5 wind warrior Xyz monster, 2300 attack, 1800 defense, 2 level 5 monsters, very generic. It does not need 2 canine monsters, it just needs 2 level 5 monsters. You can only use the first and second effect of this card's name once per turn. You can detach 1 material from this card, add a canine card from deck to hand. Then if your opponent activated a monster effect this turn, you can set a canine quick play spell from your deck or graveyard. And then the second effect is when your opponent activates a monster effect on the hand or graveyard, bad translation. Quick effect, you can detach a material from this card, negate the activation. This is pretty good because what you can do is you can activate the first effect, and then if they Ash Blossom, you can chain with the second effect to negate. And then because they have activated Ash Blossom, on the resolution of the first effect, you do get that ability to set the quick play. Really good. And also, again, it's protection. This is Nibiru protection. This is going to pretty much be your card that you rush out so you just don't get nibbed. I don't know how hard this deck plays into nib at the current moment because I haven't done any testing with it, but if this deck plays into nib, this is going to be your nib counter. You're going to want to rush this card out on the board, which is really easy because 66A can just summon itself in another level 5 from your hand, and then just you immediately make this. And then also on top of that, it's not just nib protection, it has the ability to keep playing the game. The second Xyz is Canine Model 00 Hound. It is a rank 5 Beast Warrior Xyz. Needs 2 level 5 monsters. Again, not very restrictive, it is very generic. The first effect is this card cannot be destroyed by battle or your opponent's effects during the turn in which it was special summoned. The second effect is when your opponent activates a monster effect while this card is in the monster zone, increase its attack by 500. And during the standby phase, you can detach 1 material from this card, target 1 card on the field, banish it. So none of these are once per turn. Keep that in mind. So every time your opponent activates a monster effect while this card's in the monster zone, it just keeps gaining 500 attack. And that is mandatory. So you can use Ghost Ogre to get this off the board or something like that. Well, actually, no, you can't because it can't be destroyed by card effects the turn that it is special summon. And basically the goal here is what you can do is make sure that you have the ability to make a rank 5, and the quick play spells and the trap both have the ability to do this. So you summon in this in the draw phase, and then the standby phase you use it to break your opponent's board to banish something very important. Obviously that would require kind of a turn 3 play, something along those lines, but there is application. And the final Xyz is Canine X Werewolf. This is a rank 9 Beast Warrior Xyz, 3300 attack, 2500 defense, and this cannot be made normal ways. You can only make this with the quick play spells and the trap. There is no level modulation in this deck, so again, you can only make this with the quick play or the traps. You can only use the second effect of this card's name once per turn. First effect, this card can declare a number of attacks up to the number of materials it has attached to it during the battle phase. If your opponent activates an effect, you can attach 1 material and activate one of the following effects depending on whose turn it is. If it's your turn, banish 1 card from your opponent's field and graveyard. If it is your opponent's turn, check your opponent's hand and banish 1 card face down until the end phase. This card is really strong, because what it's going to do essentially is, and you have ways to get this out in your opponent's draw phase if you go first, because you're going to have the quick play or the traps, both of which can do this or summon out this guy. If it's your opponent's turn, you just summon this in the draw phase, and the moment your opponent activates any effect, not just a monster effect, you can then just detach a material from this card, look at your opponent's hand so you have further hand knowledge on what else they have once you rip a card out of their hand, and then it has a hand rip. Yes, it comes back in the end phase, but that doesn't really matter as much. And you have the choice, because it doesn't banish a random card, it banishes 1 card, so you can choose what you banish. This is really strong because it gives hand knowledge and it has the ability to rip a card. And then the first one, when it's your turn, it helps you crack a board, essentially. As for the spells and traps, there are 2 quick plays and 1 trap. First one is Canine LC Revelation. It's a quick play. Target 1 Canine Xyz monster or 1 rank 5 Xyz monster you control. So you can target generic rank 5s, and I think that's what they're going for, is you're going to play other rank 5s with this deck. Special summon 1 Canine Xyz monster with a different name from your X deck using the targeted monster as Xyz material. At the end of the battle phase, during a turn where your canine monster battled, you can set this card from your graveyard to your side of the field. So it has recursion, has the ability to recycle itself. So as we're going to get into with the other quick play, which is more restrictive than this is a very flexible card, but it allows you to make the rank 9. You just target a canine Xyz monster or a rank 5 that you control, and then special summon the rank 9 on top of it, and because it has a material, then you can use its effect to detach and then rip a card from your opponent's hand. But you can also use it to make the other rank 5, the light one, because as we've read with the monsters, the ones that summon 2 bodies on the board on their own, either from the graveyard or from the hand, they cannot go into the light. So you're going to go into the wind one, and then most likely you're going to just use it to protect yourself on your opponent on your turn, and then you're going to use this on your opponent's turn to be able to put a monster, or put the rank 9 on the board. But also on top of that, because it is a quick play, the rank 5 wind has the ability to set this if your opponent activates a monster effect from hand or graveyard during that turn. But also the other cards have abilities to acquire these as well. The second quick play is Canine X-Force Revelation. Again, another quick play. During the main phase, you can target 1 Canine Xyz monster you control, special summon 1 Canine Xyz monster with a different name from your extra deck using the targeted monster as material. Then you can destroy 1 card on the field. At the end of the battle phase, during the turn your canine monster battled, you can set this card from the graveyard. So this at face value sounded like the exact same card as LC Revelation, and I thought the same thing too, but this is a lot more restrictive. LC Revelation lets you use any rank 5, essentially, whereas this is, you have to use a canine Xyz monster to get that pop effect. Because, again, I was like, why would you run LC when you can just run X-Force? But this is a lot more restrictive. So if you're playing like a more pure build, I could see you running only this. But LC Revelation has its applications, being able to target any rank 5 on your board. But again, on top of that, since it's a quick play, you can set it in your end phase and then have the ability to like pop a card on your opponent's board when they're trying to establish a board. And then the trap card is Canine EU Experimental Revelation. It's a normal trap, so we can search it off Thrust. Special summon 1 canine monster from your hand or graveyard. Then you can special summon 1 canine Xyz monster from your X deck using the monster special summon from this effect as material. A monster special summon from the X deck this way is destroyed during the end phase of the next turn. During the end phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target 1 canine quick play spell in your graveyard, set it to your side of the field, and you can use both effects in the same turn. So this card's like really good. Unfortunately, you have to search it off of one of the cards that searches a canine card. You can't just set it from the deck like you can with the quick plays with the rank 5. But this card is very good. It's very vital NP sport because not only is it a quick play Xyz, because it can make any canine Xyz monster, so you don't even have to use the quick plays to summon out the rank 9. You can instead make like the other rank 5 or something else. But also on top of that, it has the ability to recur your quick play spells, so you can use them on your turn, because you can, in your opponent's end phase, banish this from the graveyard, set the quick play spell so you can use the quick play on your turn, and then go to battle. If you don't kill your opponent, use the quick play effect in the graveyard to reset itself from there. So in terms of research and the combo, I didn't do as much research as I did with like the Yummy archetype, because I'm not nearly as invested in what this deck's going to be able to do. I think it is very strong, but I think it's going to heavily rely off of what cards can be played in it, unlike Yummy where it can probably be played as pure. I don't know how vast the good rank 5 pool is aside from like Cyber Dragon Infinity, which I don't foresee that being played in this deck. I imagine anything that can take advantage of like warriors, beast warriors, will see a lot of play in this, or like pyros or aquas. It's very like expansive. The cool thing about this archetype is it can't just be super polyed away. It's all different attributes and different types. Nothing matches. So like Garua and Mud Dragon are just not targets. But I could definitely see this archetype being one of the meta threats out of this deck building set. I could 100% see Justice Hunters being another crossover breakers where like K9 and Yummy are the top dogs, just like how Ryzeal and Malice have been the top dogs. I could 100% see that's how this plays out. That being said, since the entire main deck lineup is all level 5s, I can see a scenario where this deck bricks a lot. Obviously, the deck has the ability to normal summon if your opponent controls 2 or more cards in their hand, which obviously if you're going first, they always have 2 or more. So you're always getting that normal summon without tribute regardless. But extension past that is like very specific. You can, of course, just normal summon Azuna, use her effect to then add the 66A, so that way you have an extension in hand, and then say you have another name in hand, you can then go 66A, special summon himself, and the other name in hand, so you have 3 bodies on board, rank 5 into the wind, and then use the wind to either add the trap or one of your quick plays. But then if your opponent hand traps you along the way somewhere, you can then just use Ripper to also set the quick play and search the trap instead. And then on top of that, again, Ripper will provide further protection from that point on from any monster effects in your opponent's hand. Out of the 3 Xyz, I personally think Hound is like the weakest, and you're never summoning him on like your opponent's turn. 9 times out of 10, I think you're always going for like Werewolf because he has the ability to rip a card out of your opponent's hand, give further hand knowledge, and know just what to play around from that point on. That being said, with only 3 Xyz and 2 of them only having some minor form of application on your opponent's turn, I don't know how viable running both the quick plays and the trap are for like your end board, because they can only summon K9 Xyz monsters. They can't just summon any rank 5 Xyz monster from your extra deck, which means you're very limited to what you can summon off this quick plays and the trap. You can maybe summon out Ripper if you didn't get to it on your turn. You can summon out Werewolf obviously to get that hand knowledge. You can even summon Hound if you're just trying to wall up because he is not once per turn gain 500 essentially. But I think, again, this deck is going to be very reliant on what, like, other engines it can run, what other rank 5 pool it can toy with. Again, I'm not very knowledgeable on what good rank 5s there are. So, of course, let me know down in the comments below. But with that, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you all think down in the comments below of this archetype. Again, I think it's going to be another, like, Malice Ryzeal situation with this and Yummy. I think Dragon Tail out of the 3 archetypes is the weakest. I'm willing to be proved wrong, though. But also, don't forget to leave a like on this video, and if you're not already and you like competitive-based content, consider subscribing to the channel. But with that, I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!